All right, so it's been a while since I've done one of these videos. Figured it was time for a new one. Um, I'm going to be reading off my notes here, so bear with me. This is just totally off the cuff. But what I've decided to talk about today is when is the best time for you to bring a sound designer on board your project. I'm going to say as early as it makes sense, not as early as possible. So I'm going to kind of present two contrasting points of view here, but basically some ideas for why I think it makes sense, or like why you might think about doing it early. Sound sketching and prototyping. So I would say if audio is valuable to your experience as a whole, what you're going to want to be doing is having someone dedicated from an early point to discovering what the sonic identity of your specific game project is. Like what should your game sound like, right? So having this person on board early involves going out into the field, capturing field recordings, right? So that's one of the biggest points for the what you should do with them if they're coming on board early, right? Recording projects. So that's a big plus for your sonic identity. So early means that you have a lot of time to do this kind of stuff. You can think about basically sound designers have time to put together like wish lists of what they would like to record. If I have an idea for everything that's involved in your project from an early point on, I can figure out, okay, we're going to need a bunch of unique impact sounds. We're going to need animal sounds. We're going to need Foley, like whatever your particular project consists of. I know that I can go out and record those things. We can build like a wish list of what we want to record, and sometimes it's referred to as a recording journal. So that's a big thing that you should look at if you're going to bring audio on board quite early, right? I mean, there's also a possibility, there's also a reality that if it's too early, it might be out of budget, right? So, like, yeah, if it's way too early to bring sound effects onto your project because it's just super early, there's not a whole lot to do just yet. Even you as the design team are still working out what you wanna do here. What do you want to achieve with this project? I would say it's still a smart move to consider having a sound design on board very early, because you can bring them into conversations where at least they have the opportunity to learn about what it is that you're making as a project, right? So if I know in 8 months' time when I'm likely to come on board that we're going to need, again, I guess I'll go back to my previous example, like Foley or vehicles, impacts, that sort of thing. I kind of know to account for it now. And also, if I'm sat in that meeting with you, I can inform you this is a system we're likely going to need. Maybe if you're building systems with all the relevant assets in mind, I don't know if you're using Unreal or something like that, you can think about how can I incorporate sound, VFX, text, subtitles, all these things into a branched system, like a system that contains all the assets and kind of manages them, right? Or working with audio middleware, right? Those are some things to consider. Like, if we talk about it early, even if I'm not building it or working on it with you, then when the time comes, there's less headaches involved. We kind of all know what's involved. The scope has already been set. It can be a good way to go. It's not a bad way to do it at all, especially if it's early on. Like, just as a one-time consultancy, you could consider it. But now I'm going to make a contradicting argument here. If I'm playing devil's advocate, on the flip side, if it's really just too early and you can't afford to bring them on board because there's nothing for them to work on yet, so why would they be on payroll? You can consider about, like I said at the beginning of this, kind of talking to them about what you want to do with your project, and then think about bringing them on board midway through development. So in the pre-alpha phase or the production phase, that sort of thing, right? Like, there might be a sweet spot where the content isn't fully, like, some content might actually be complete, and then it's a great time for me to get on board and start prototyping some systems, maybe building out some of the systems for the project in Wwise or Fmod, prototyping those sorts of things, and basically just getting some kind of content into your game. It gives us all time to kind of digest what's going on too. Like, you as the the design team working on the project will have time to kind of sit with ideas as they've kind of made their way into the game, and you'll be able to hear stuff and like kind of sit with them for some days or weeks at a time. People decide very quickly what they like and what they don't like to move forward, that sort of thing. what's working well or what's not working well, both the design team and the sound designers involved. Yeah, and it's like the nice thing about that with it when it reaches kind of a midway point, it's like we actually have some, like I kind of alluded to, we already have some art, we already have some things to work on. The game isn't so gray box anymore. It's actually it's quite a nice place to be at for the sound designer coming on board the project. I can speak to that from past experience of that. And then I'll talk about the very end, right? So at the very, very end, that's not totally uncommon. Sound designer can be brought on board at the very end of a project. And typically that's challenging as well for other reasons. There's a lot of pressure at the end of a project, right? Time constraints, or something needs to go live right away. It means that we don't have as much time for iteration. And this would go for anything, right? Not even strictly audio. Like if we're making this game and it's got to ship in a month and a half, like I might be able to add a sound that we think is good, but artistically maybe it's not like the perfect match because it hasn't had time in the oven to cook. We haven't really, like the iteration phase has gotten, the feedback phase, if you like, has gotten a lot shorter, right? Not to say that we can't do our best work at that period of time too, but of course it's nice when these things have a little bit more room to breathe, right? So yeah, I mean, then that's, that's it, really. So that's all I got for this one. I think the general concept still stands as what I kind of said at the start of this is like, I'm presenting the ideas of, to recap, right? Like, does it make sense to bring us on board early, or does it make sense to bring us on board late? And it's all specific to the game. It's all specific to the project. It all depends on you, really, at the end of the day. So yeah, give it some thought. Planning is never a bad thing. Early is not necessarily bad. Like early might mean we're only working together for a short period of time, and then there's a longer leg of development later on in the process, and then you know how you have time to kind of establish a bit of a working relationship with someone. That's not bad. That's not a bad shout either. Yeah, so just give it some thought, and I think you'll come to the right answer.